I thought I was alone in my apartment until I found notes from someone who wasn't supposed to be there. I've never been the paranoid type. I mean, I live in a quiet city, in a third-floor apartment with a decent deadbolt and neighbors who mostly keep to themselves. It's not like I'm in some creepy cabin in the woods. My place is small but cozy. Kitchen, living room, bedroom, bathroom, and a tiny storage closet I barely use. I've been here for 2 years and nothing weird has ever happened. Until about a month ago, when I started finding the notes. The first one showed up on my fridge, held up by a magnet shaped like a cartoon taco. It was just a scrap of paper torn from a notebook with neat, loopy handwriting. "Nice shirt today." I laughed when I saw it. I'd worn my favorite blue button-up to work that day, the one I always get compliments on. I figured I'd jotted it down myself, maybe half asleep or after a glass of wine, though I didn't remember doing it. I tossed it in the trash and didn't think much of it. A couple of days later, another note appeared, this time on my bathroom mirror, stuck with a piece of tape. "You left the stove on again." My stomach did a little flip. I had left the stove on the night before, just for a few minutes while I grabbed my phone from the bedroom. I'm not careless, but it happens, right? I chalked it up to my own forgetfulness, like maybe I'd written it as a reminder to be more careful. But the handwriting, still that same loopy script, didn't look like mine. I compared it to a grocery list I'd scribbled the day before, and the letters were different. Mine are blocky, uneven. These were almost too perfect, like someone practiced them. I started to wonder if it was a prank. My friend Sarah has a key to my place for emergencies, and she's got a weird sense of humor. I texted her, half joking, "You sneaking in and leaving me notes? Not cool." She replied with a string of laughing emojis and said she hadn't been over in weeks. I believed her. She's not the type to lie. Still, I changed the locks that weekend just to be safe. The landlord grumbled about the cost, but I paid for it myself. New deadbolt, new keys. I felt better. For a week, nothing happened. No notes, no weirdness. I started to relax, convincing myself it was just a fluke. Maybe I had written those notes and just forgotten. I've been stressed at work, pulling long hours at the office. It wouldn't be the first time my brain played tricks on me. Then, last Tuesday, I found another note. I'd just gotten home from work, kicked off my shoes, and headed to the kitchen to make dinner. There, on the counter next to my coffee maker, was a folded piece of paper. My heart sank as I opened it. "You look tired today. Get some rest." I froze. I had been tired that day, exhausted actually. I'd barely slept the night before, tossing and turning over a work deadline. But how would anyone know that? I live alone. I don't have a roommate, a partner, or even a pet. I stood there, staring at the note, my hands shaking. The handwriting was the same, neat, loopy, almost mocking in its precision. I checked every door and window. Everything was locked, just like I'd left it. I called Sarah that night and told her everything. She suggested I set up a cheap security camera, one of those Wi-Fi ones you can monitor from your phone. I ordered one on Amazon and had it delivered the next day. I set it up in the living room, angled to catch the kitchen and the hallway to my bedroom. I figured if someone was sneaking in, I'd catch them. I also started double-checking the locks every night, even though the new deadbolt made it impossible for anyone with the old key to get in. The camera didn't catch anything at first, just me moving around the apartment, making coffee, watching TV. But the notes kept coming. Every couple of days, I'd find one in a new place. "You should eat more vegetables on the fridge. That podcast you listened to was funny on my nightstand. Don't forget to call your mom," taped to my laptop. Each one was more personal, like someone was watching my every move. The podcast one freaked me out the most. I'd been listening to a comedy podcast in my car, not even at home. How could anyone know? I started to lose sleep. I'd lie awake at night staring at the ceiling, listening for any sound. A creak, a footstep, anything. My apartment's old, so it makes noises sometimes, but every groan of the floorboards felt like a threat. I stopped listening to music or podcasts at home, too paranoid to drown out any potential sounds. I checked the camera footage obsessively, but it never showed anything unusual. Just me, alone. Last Friday, things got worse. I came home from work and found a note on my pillow. "You shouldn't leave your windows open at night." My blood ran cold. I never leave my windows open. I'm on the 3rd floor and I'm paranoid about bugs. I checked every window in the apartment. They were all locked, just like always. I called the police, but they didn't take it seriously. The officer I spoke to said it sounded like a prank and suggested I talk to my neighbors. I did, but no one had seen anything suspicious. Most of them are older folks who go to bed by 9 p.m. I started to feel like I was going crazy. I wasn't eating, wasn't sleeping. I'd jump at every sound. I even started checking under the bed and in the closet before going to sleep, like a kid scared of monsters. But the notes kept coming, and they were getting creepier. "I like watching you sleep," was left on my bathroom sink. "You're prettier when you smile," was taped to my TV. I stopped inviting friends over, too scared to explain what was happening. I didn't want them to think I was losing it. Then, 2 nights ago, I found something that changed everything. I was cleaning the apartment, trying to keep myself busy, when I decided to organize the storage closet. It's a tiny space off the living room, mostly filled with boxes I never unpacked after moving in. I don't go in there often, it's cramped and smells like dust. But as I was moving a stack of boxes, I noticed something odd. A small, square panel in the wall, about 2 feet by 2 feet, half hidden behind an old coat rack. It looked like an access hatch, maybe for plumbing or electrical stuff. I'd never noticed it before. My heart was pounding as I knelt down and touched the panel. It was loose, held in place by a single rusty screw. I grabbed a screwdriver and pried it open. Behind it was a narrow crawl space, barely big enough for a person to squeeze through. It was dark, but I could see it stretched back a few feet, maybe connecting to the building's ductwork or something. The air smelled stale, like mildew and something else I couldn't place, something faintly sour. I shined my phone's flashlight inside. The beam caught on something. A small pile of objects in the corner of the crawl space. I reached in, my hands shaking, and pulled them out. There was a half-eaten granola bar, a crumpled water bottle, and a notebook. My stomach dropped as I opened the notebook. Page after page was filled with that same loopy handwriting describing me. What I wore, what I ate, what time I left for work, what time I went to bed. There were even sketches, crude but recognizable. My face, my apartment, my bed. I dropped the notebook and backed away, my breath coming in short gasps. Someone had been in my apartment, not just sneaking in and out, living here, watching me, writing about me. I grabbed my phone and checked the camera footage again, scrolling back through days of recordings. Nothing. No one coming or going. But then I noticed something, a gap in the footage from 3 nights ago, about 20 minutes long, in the middle of the night. The camera had stopped recording, then started again. I hadn't touched it. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the couch clutching a kitchen knife, staring at the closet door. Every creak of the building made me flinch. I kept thinking about that crawl space, about how someone could have been in there the whole time, watching me through cracks in the walls, listening to me live my life. I thought about all the times I'd felt like I was being watched, all the little moments I'd brushed off, the feeling of eyes on me when I was alone, the sense that something was off. Yesterday morning, I called a locksmith to seal the hatch. He came by in the afternoon and bolted it shut, but he looked at me like I was crazy when I told him why. I didn't care. I just wanted it sealed. I also called the police again, showed them the notebook, but they said there wasn't enough evidence to do anything. No fingerprints, no DNA, just a notebook and some trash. They suggested I move out, but I can't afford to break my lease. Last night, I set up the camera to point directly at the closet door. I stayed up as long as I could watching the live feed on my phone, but I must have dozed off around 3 a.m. When I woke up, my phone was dead, even though it had been fully charged. I plugged it in and checked the footage. The camera had recorded all night, but there was another gap. 10 minutes at 4:17 a.m. My heart stopped when I saw what was on my coffee table, a new note. You can't keep me out. I'm writing this from a coffee shop across town because I'm too scared to go back to my apartment. I don't know what to do. The police won't help, my friends think I'm overreacting, and I can't afford to move. I keep thinking about that crawl space, about how small it was, how someone must have been contorting themselves to fit in there, watching me, writing about me. I don't know who they are or how they're getting in. I don't know if they're still there, waiting for me to come back. I'm posting this here because I need advice, or maybe just to know I'm not crazy. Has anyone dealt with something like this? Should I try to confront whoever it is? Should I leave and never go back? I'm terrified that if I go home tonight, I'll find another note, or worse, I'll find them.